Hi, everybody. This is Carla. I just am here to share with you a few excerpts from some of the online classes that I've been teaching. And these ones are yin yoga. Stick around and see some of the poses that we do. And at the end, you're going to get a link if you would be interested in joining in for a longer session. Come forward very briefly, first to tabletop. Tuck the toes, lift the hips, down dog. And feel like that neck can just kind of relax here. And that little bit of work of just kind of letting things flow a little more freely towards the head. Little side to side here, if that's nice. Look towards the hands. Step that left foot forward, right knee to the floor to come into your lovely lunge. And really let the weight of that hip sink. Maybe you go right to sort of a place that feels a little bit like the max, and then just kind of ease it back a little bit and feel like you're settling into it. Support the knee if you need to. Let there be a sense of softness into that space between your ears and your shoulders here. And land into that spot that just feels right. And let yourself stay. Where you are is good. Just stay with this version. Hands to the legs or to blocks if that's better for you. Bringing the shoulder a little more in line with the hip and slightly changing where you feel that stretch. Readjust if you need to. Maybe even notice if there's a tendency to kind of open up to the side and feel like those hips are squaring forward as much as they can. Nice wide, deep breaths here. It's just this last little bit. Right. If you've got those arms up, you can start to bring them back down. Let the hands settle on either side of that left foot. And just kind of ease your way back to release the front of that hip. Taking a few breaths here. We're going to head right into that outer hip. So back to your lunge. Heel toe that foot across the top of the mat. Take some time to kind of settle into it. Tuck the toes, maybe that back foot to walk it back, or to lean over and bring it forward for more of that 90-90. Take a moment to let the shoulders relax. as you soften into this. Add a block, a bolster if you want, anything else that you may need. And then that little scan of the body. There's going to be that sensation in that outer hip, and be aware of it. But notice also where else you might be gripping or holding on to tension or experiencing sensation. Let go of the need of creating more, but rather focus in on just letting things soften, of letting the pose happen. Slowly start to lengthen and deepen that next breath or two. Just start to bring a little of that weight first into the hands. Feel like you let it slide over to that left hip, and you're going to bring that back leg forward. We're going to set up for our Gomukhasana, shoelace with the legs, but we're going to bring in that extra work into our shoulders. So if you need a little support underneath the hips, add a little blanket, let the shoulders relax. And option is to take your strap and just to bring it over top of your right shoulder here. We are going to take this left hand. It's a very brief hold for the shoulders here. This left hand is going to come ideally into that space between your shoulder blades. Your right arm's going to reach up and your right arm's going to reach back. And if you can grab the hands, you grab the hands. If that's not there, you're just grabbing the strap, because I don't want you to overdo this. So try not to let this arm rest into the back of the neck, so we don't want to stress that out, but you're just kind of opening up that shoulder. We're working to bring the elbow a little more in line with the crown of the head, but I'm not trying to force that today. If I was in my flow class, I would probably be a little more adamant about that. Don't let the sternum pop out, and notice if you can relax the feet a little bit. Then let's release those arms. Give a moment for those shoulders to have a little roll if that feels good. And then float those arms up beside you. You're going to do right arm over top of left for your eagle arms. Again, we're going to relax the shoulders away from the ears, soften the jaw. Take a breath here. Now you've got this right hand on top, or right arm on top. Drop your right arm over towards the right And then left ear to left shoulder for a little bit of work into the neck. And then bring these arms back through to center. Reach the elbows away from you to widen between the shoulder blades for a few breaths here. And that option, if you want to come into a forward fold, you can, or just keep those arms where they are, but you're reaching those elbows away for space there. And then just this last little bit, if you're in that forward fold, come back up. One last little movement here with these arms. Again, right arm is on top. I'm just going to pull this right elbow towards my left shoulder. It's almost like I'm doing a little peekaboo, peekaboo. And you can kind of see me coming through the head. And you'll get a little more into that outer shoulder, outside of the shoulder. And then back through to center. Let's exhale and release that out. Give your shoulders a little roll here. And then let's lean back, release the legs. Let your feet come about mat distance. We're just going to drop your knees over to one side and over to the other. And then before we come into that second side, feet nice and wide. We're just gonna do one arm at a time in this one. This is me practicing compassion. Take the back of the palm of the left hand, bring it into that side belly, and then just bring that elbow inside the knee just for a moment here. And ideally, you're gonna get something in the shoulder. If you don't get enough, by all means, you can do the second arm. But if you've got enough, you just stay with that. You could even take this right knee and it's like you move that right elbow a little more towards the midline, but don't overdo it here. We've been kind of working through a bunch of different rotations in that shoulder. And I don't want us to be too pushy. These are smaller muscles. We're not being too forceful with them. And then let's exhale, release that right arm out. You can kind of cross those legs and maybe a little movement into this right arm if you need it, or to both at the same time. All that movement and my shoulders, you guys cannot, I know you can't hear it, but there's so much cracking going on. We got a lovely second side. So when you're ready, come back to your tabletop. Maybe as you come back tabletop and just kind of notice the hands and the shoulders and that connection from that work. Might be different on that right side. Little movement in that down dog. Look towards the hand. Right foot forward. Left knee to the floor. Settling into that low lunge. And really just letting the weight of that hip sink forward. And again, if it's nice to have that little bit of play here, let yourself have that. Finding your way to that right level of intensity, taking as much time as you need. And we stay. No tension into the neck. Hands can move onto the legs if you want to bring that shoulder more in line with the hip. letting that hip continue to sink forward, or take that moment to kind of ease it back. Notice if there's a tendency to kind of lean in one direction. Can you feel like you're still working that center line? The hips are squaring forward. Notice where you feel the breath. Let it stay long and deep. Your next breath or two, start to release those hands back down. If they're lifted, take a little pause there. Stay with it for another moment. And then let your hip kind of slide back when you're ready. Taking that time to release out. Move in here if you need. Coming back to that lunge when you're ready for your outer hip. I'm keen to do pigeon on the right side tonight. Let that shin settle to the floor. Adjust as you need. And soften it. Add your block, add any support you want. And when it's feeling that little bit extra tight, that doesn't mean you have to go to the place where you always go. You can be a little gentler, a little softer. Maybe that opportunity to scan the body, to notice where there's tension. And even the sort of this observation of, is it similar as it was on that first side? Or is there different places that kind of show up? And then we're not there to just overthink and analyze and be critical about it. We're just kind of making those observations to guide us into letting go just a little more. Enough space to be curious, to be inquisitive, but not to get stuck in over analyzing. And it's a balance. Just those last few breaths. Starting to lengthen and deepen that next breath or two. Starting to shift a little that weight first into the hands and then over towards the right. And then, just for the sake of disclaimers, I about halfway in between there shifted into the 90-90 because that's that my right hip was feeling tight. And about halfway into that pose, it started to feel like it was more about my knee than my outer hip. And sometimes even the yoga teacher has to choose the softer and gentler route. Knees stacked on top of knees, feet off to the side. This side tends to be more for your shoulders. So I would encourage a strap over top of that left shoulder if you like. We're going to take this right hand. You're going to start to bring it into that space between your shoulder blades. And I don't want you to be too pushy or forceful. So some days I come in here and I ram that arm into there. I'm just walking it in. And then that left arm comes up and it comes back. And maybe we grab the strap. Maybe we grab the hands. You get that opening into the front of the shoulder. And we get that little bit of opening through the front of the tricep. Soft jaw, no stress for the neck. It's not a super long hold for the arms. And then we'll exhale and release it out. Give your shoulders a little roll. Sometimes it's nice to do that because you forget you're actually doing anything for the legs, right? All right, let's float those arms out. You're going to take left arm over top of right. Palms together if you can for your eagle. Arms move away from you for a breath or two. Just kind of settle in. We don't want these arms kind of resting on the chest if you can't help it. And we've got this left arm on top, so we're going to drop it over to the left and right ear to right shoulder. So that little bit of work into the neck and the shoulders. And then back through to center, head and arms. Reach those elbows away. We've got a little bit of time here. Option to bring in a little forward fold if that feels good. Or just to stay with this and create a little space between the shoulder blades. And if you went into that forward fold, just start to bring yourself back up in the next breath or two. You've got this left arm on top. It's like you're pulling this left elbow towards the right shoulder. Like you're doing a little peek around the arms. And ideally, we're kind of getting a little more outside of that left shoulder here. And then I'll bring that back through to center. Exhale, release those arms. And now just really give those shoulders a little roll. It should feel. Done some good rotation through all of those shoulder muscles. Let's lean back and release those legs, letting the feet come nice and wide. And that little bit of side to side here, if it might feel good to pause and just kind of hold one side. It might feel good to flow through them a few times. And then coming back, feet nice and wide. back of the palm of the left hand into the side belly, and then that left elbow inside the left knee. And again, you're going to feel that. You might, there's a few places where you might feel it's going to get into your rotator cuff, which is more than one muscle. And so you might feel it in a few different places. You can always even move this knee a little closer to the midline if you want. If you need more intensity, again, you could do both arms at the same time, but you don't have to. Legs stay relaxed. And then let's release that left arm out. Do whatever's comfortable with those legs. A little movement in those shoulders if it feels good. It may even feel good to even do just some really nice big circles, moving those guys through. And getting some crack in there. Oh, just know also it's that season, right? It's the season for that to kind of happen. Give those shoulders that sweet little movement. Let's make our way on to our back. Have your block handy. I want to do, I'm going to do our neck release like right now, because I want to do the one where we kind of linger into the ropey muscle along the neck, because I know I want that. I have never have I ever had anyone ever complain about that stretch. All right, let's make our way on to our back. Grabbing that block, placing it so that the bottom edge is into that area where your head and your neck meet. And just, kind of play with that a little bit. Let those legs come out in front of you. Again, enjoy the length that you've created. Let your shoulders relax. Let that jaw soften. And just take a moment to pause, to let that body be heavy, to let the jaw soften. And then let's just start with very small movements here, slowly increasing how much you bring your head side to side. And then we're starting with that left side. So take your head all the way over to the left. Slowly start to bring it back about halfway to center till you feel like you bump into a dense roping muscle in the back of the neck. And then let yourself kind of lean into that. Really let the weight sink into that. And feel like as you do, you can let that left leg really soften. You're not gripping there. And then just the tiniest little movement, like you're trying to draw a little circle with your chin. And just move that in both directions. And then we flush that out a little side to side. Bring your head all the way over to the right. Slowly draw your head back about halfway to center, 45 degrees-ish. And then just kind of settle when you feel like you find that dense ropey muscle on the right side. And then just sink into it. As you do, feel like the right side of the body just even gets heavier. And then just that little movement, little rotation. Little circles in both directions. And then lean into it, soften into it. And then flush it out. Little side to side here. Back to center, little pause. Bend the knees and plant the feet. One hand underneath the head, one hand to your block. So gently let that head touch back down and just really take a nice little pause here. Let that jaw relax. Thank you so much for taking the time to check out this little video. Don't hesitate to take a couple more breaths if you can. Just that opportunity to shift a little bit of that energy in your day. If you're interested in going a little deeper, taking a longer class, head over to DuvalTylerYoga.com. We've got information there where you can check out classes and join me either in the morning or in the evening. Thank you so much for your time.